no matter what's going on. So welcome, and give yourselves a little pat on the back for making it here today. Yes, yes. So wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are welcome here. And our practitioner of the day will do our opening blessing and a short reading just to remind you of the good things that are of your life as well. And that is Reverend Drac Duella. Reverend Drac is wearing one of his many hats. He is a minister. He's also a practitioner because all CSL ministers are practitioners. He's the board treasurer, and he's a chaplain, and I don't know, a bunch of other stuff, right? Yeah, pretty much just does it all, and it's all like it's all spiritual stuff. So we are blessed to have him this morning on the platform with us. And we've got some great music. We welcome Jeff to the keyboards, of course. Yay. And for some great singing and playing, we welcome Rick Dale. Yes. So we're going to start with a song by someone who's not in the room, Denise Rosier. She's singing Spirit is in This House. I'm going to invite you to stand. The words are in your bulletin. Let's sing. Taking all of that luscious energy and joy and turning within and recognizing that the joy that we feel is actually the joy of our own hearts. So let the sound of the bowl take you even deeper. For from this heart space within, we recognize the love that is, the joy that is, the very spiritual nature that we are. And it is from here that we realize that you and I and spirit and all of life is simply one.
So we know that God is present here in this moment. As they say, there's not a spot where God is not. God is moving through this moment right here and now. And how could that not be when so many people are present in this room that were created by this very force? Of course it's here. That means this same presence moves through me as well. That the compassion, the love, the silence, all of those remarkable things that is this source moves through me. And so I know that the truth is, for everybody and everything that exists, that this force is nothing but pure love, that it is present at all times, no matter the circumstance. And that when we open our hearts to this and allow it in, when we bring forth that compassion, that forgiveness, that quietude, that we are aligned with it. When we forgive, we are for giving. And to give, we must love. So the truth is, we are all here present in this moment with this force of love and compassion moving through each and every one of us, each and every moment, each and every circumstance. Because that is the truth and the reality of all things. And isn't that great to know? Are we grateful to know that? to know that this is present in all things. That forgiveness, that love, that compassion, that quietness is there for all of us, for the taking at any time. So I release this understanding out into the universal law of consciousness, knowing that like a dandelion seed floating on a breeze, that it is landing in the right and perfect spot, and it will grow into beauty and reality. So it is. So I have a reading here that just makes me chuckle every time I think about it. I want to read it with a British accent, the way it's worded almost, but I won't do that to you. It's written by Evan Hodkins from the School of Alchemy. And the languaging is just fun, but I like it. I want to provide you with an advanced practice, but it demands that we sacrifice the last remnant of our spiritual prissiness. In sum, condescension is unallowed. Hence, it may not be the most desirable undertaking in town. If I am vigilant and sincere, however, I can nearly always spot my version of the offense that another has served up to me. Perhaps something acted out in an entirely different context, with an entirely different person, maybe even years ago. Yet, it's just an altered adaptation of their stinky behavior orchestrated by me in a diverse fashion at another octave on the same scale. Bingo! To be precise, I could never forgive my father until I committed my addition of those heinous behaviors that I had previously condemned in him. The rooster somehow manages to return to its roost. Frequently, my version won't be as obnoxious as their variety, yet it's definitely in the same ballpark. And frequently, in order to fully forgive another, I need to forgive myself right along with them. It's a powerful exercise since I accrue, in effect, 2 pardons for the price of 1. Hence, in order to exonerate another, I am invited to simultaneously absolve myself. When acknowledging our common frailties, I find in the other, almost endearingly, a companionability based upon the reality of our mutual crumminess. Yes, it takes 2 wings to make the bird fly. And here is a splendid certainty. This little exercise, due to the degree of self-reflectivity, has the power to restore our integrity and establish within us the blazing glory of becoming a universal human being. Compassion, ultimately, is only as deep, only as rich as our shortcomings allow. And forgiveness is best when the boomerang completes its trajectory. Rick, please come on up.
After the reading, I don't need to do the song. That was both insightful and delightful. Who here has somebody to forgive? And who here needs forgiveness from somebody? I'd like to do a song for you by Matthew West. He's a Christian artist, but the back story of this is that he knew this woman whose children were killed by a drunk driver, and so he wrote the song, Forgiveness. Hardest thing to give away, and the last thing on your mind today. It always goes to those that don't deserve. It's the opposite of how you feel when the pain they cause is just too real. It takes everything you have to say the word forgiveness. Forgiveness. It flies in the face of all your pride, moves away the mad inside. It's always anger's own worst enemy. And even when the jury and the judge say you got a right to hold the grudge, it's the whisper in your ear saying, set it free. Forgiveness. Show me how to love the unlovable. Show me how to reach the unreachable. Help me now to do the impossible. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Help me now to do the impossible. Forgiveness. It'll clear the bitterness away. It can even set a prisoner free. There is no end to what its power can do. So let it go and be amazed by what you see through eyes of grace. The prisoner that it really frees is you. Forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness. Forgiveness. Show me how to love the unlovable. Show me how to reach the unreachable. Help me now to do the impossible. Forgiveness, I want to finally set it free. So show me how to see what God's mercy sees. Help me now to give what God gave to me. Forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness.
That was perfect. Guess what we're lighting our candle for today? Forgiveness. There's a lovely cool breeze blowing from the east. And we are lit. So Centers for Spiritual Living's vision, global vision, includes a line that says, we envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. And D. Patrick Miller wrote, never forget that to forgive yourself is to release trapped energy that could be doing good work in the world. And then there's Wayne Dyer, who always breaks it down into very practical terms. Wayne says, You can sit there forever lamenting about how bad you've been, feeling guilty until you die. And not one tiny slice of that guilt will do anything to change a single thing in the past. Forgive yourself, then, all caps, move on. And that's what we're talking about today. Our title is Forgiveness, noun, defined as a revolutionary path to peace. The word revolutionary, I want to remind you, is in part, it's an instance of great change in affairs. Now, I would like to point out to you something that I specifically realized when I was writing this week, that an instance is not an instant. It doesn't happen right away. I was reading that, an instance of great change in affairs. It's like, yeah, it's not happening on a dime here, folks, this great change. Oh, because it's not instant. It is a happening. And a happening says it's in progress. It's processing always. We are part of that becoming. So when we have a great change in affairs, when we revolutionize something, we're affecting the impact and maybe even the intention of what's going on in the world. And that we have something to say about. I read that one of the ways to understand forgiveness is a larger view of mistakes or hurt of ourselves or others. So one of the things about forgiveness, this giving up of the blame, the shame, the resentment, the judgment, is moving into a greater understanding of what might have been happening or what is happening now. The thing about what we do to each other, what we say to each other, the situations that we create or are created around us, what's important to remember is that when people act out or lash out or come out with their fists raised, it's all in response to a need that is trying to be met, where the action is really ineffective or inappropriate. So when somebody barks at you, they need something, and you're in the way, at least in their view. When you lash out at someone else, or when you pick a fight, or when you stomp out of the room, or when you end a relationship, you need something. And it's not that the need itself is the problem. It's the ego's desire to have it now without fully understanding what is all going on under the surface. You know, we all have this rich emotional landscape within us. And it's been shaped by everything and everyone that we have lived in or with or next to, that we have called family or lover or spouse. We are created in part like a river in its banks by the shape of the banks, and that changes all the time, right? The relationship ends, you move out of the house, you go away to school. Who knows what crazy thing you do? Anybody just ever take off for a year and go travel in Europe? That was like, you know, those of us from the 60s and 70s, we knew people like that. All you needed was a Volkswagen van and a map, maybe. The thing is, when we understand ourselves better, we find that it's easier to forgive what we see as mistakes. Now, that's not to say we don't make mistakes, because we do all the time. Our intention may be pure and the impact may be devastating when we say something or do something or inadvertently exclude someone or don't listen well enough to understand what someone is trying to tell us. You've had those conversations in a relationship where you have this little dust-up about something. And about 2 hours later, or maybe 2 days later, or maybe 2 weeks later, or maybe 2 marriages later, you come back and you say, you know, I think this is what was really happening there. I think this is what I really wanted to say. Or I really wanted you to understand what I needed. And either I didn't articulate it or you weren't listening. But either way, The forgiveness aspect of that whole relationship comes down to moving through the dynamic of conflict into understanding. Now, when we understand the dynamic better, we can choose how we want to respond. We all learn patterns. One of the human aspects of life is that the ego figures out how things work and then expects it always to work the same way, because then you can drive to work without thinking about it too much, because you know you turn left and you turn right, and if there's a detour, this other street will get you there. We categorize everything in the world. The thing is, people can't be categorized quite so easily. We're too complex. We change all the time. Circumstances change all the time. We need to be a little more flexible. The ego is ingrained in its patterns. So if we are willing to look at a situation from a place of understanding within, from a willingness to listen, if we're able to tap into the part of us that knows that whatever mess this is in front of me, there's something else is going on here, then we can choose how to respond. We can choose the shape we become instead of only being the shape we were made into by family or school or trauma or politics. We have choices. We have choices. So here's my story. I've told this story before, but it's a really good story. So here you go. Back when India was under British rule, a posh golf course was constructed in Calcutta. Monkeys who lived on the grounds developed a habit of picking up balls in play and throwing them. After years of trying to solve the problem by expelling the monkeys, the golf course resigned itself to the reality of the situation, and instead of trying to change the monkeys' behavior, the course changed the rules to require players to play it where it lands. Wherever the monkey threw or dropped the ball, that became the place from which it had to be played, no matter how unexpected or inconvenient. Now, you know I always speak in metaphors. There you have it. The thing is, playing from here as best we are able gives us a new way of looking at changing events. If we can let go of our need to control or our need to tell everyone why it's not the same as it used to be, but it should be, and instead focus on how best to play forward from here, our energy will be on what we can do rather than what we can't do. That's a huge shift. That is a huge shift. In order to be more forgiving in the world, we, of course, start with ourselves. I mean, certain actions require us to make amends, right? There are certain things we may have done in our lives or said in our lives or relationships were damaged that require us to do something, to make it right, to at least apologize, if nothing else. But the thing is, most of the judgment that we carry inside our own heads. Not that anyone else, I'm sure, has ever called themselves names. Like when you trip, or drop something, or break something, or forget something, or double book yourself. Or there's a list, right? Of things you could call yourself stupid for. My God, I'm so forgot. I must be getting old. It's the conversation in our heads that keeps the judgment rolling, that keeps the criticism coming, that constricts the space we have for love. Martin Luther King said that if we do not have the capacity to forgive, we are restricting our capacity to love. Because what does forgiveness do but give us room, give us understanding, give us a bigger perspective of what's happening in life, allowing us to find ways of being compassionate and kind, ways of being creative, ways of seeking solution rather than having to be right. One of the quotes that I have or had was also from Evan Hodkins, and I'm not sure that I brought it forward. I'll see if it comes up. If not, I may look it up and tell it to you, because the idea is that when we think we need to be right, I know where it is. It comes up later. You just hold that thought. I'll keep going. I'm going to forgive myself for putting that in the middle of a talk where it didn't belong. But I could berate myself. I could go home and that would be the only thing I would tell Pat about how the morning went. Oh my God, I got out of order and then I had to go back. I mean, right? Don't we do that all the time? Stop it. Stop it. It's not helping. So I'm going to ask you to think about what are the things you might need to forgive yourself for. And I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions and then invite you to volunteer any others you might think of. So one of them is forgiving yourself for the judgments or beliefs that you've carried that really don't serve you. And one of the ways we get caught in that particular pattern is we tell ourselves, how could I have been so stupid for so long? Right? Why did I stay in that relationship as long as I did when obviously it wasn't good for me? Or I should know better. That's a good ministerial false belief. I should know better. I really shouldn't get mad on the freeway. I'm a minister after all. I should be praying for those people to get out of my way. But really, it's a judgment that we're making, and we're judging ourselves for not knowing better when we didn't know any better, right? If I could say anything to my 20-year-old self or my 15-year-old self or my 40-year-old self, part of it would be, hey, I see you. You're doing the best you can with what you know. That starts within. Another thing to forgive ourselves for is for believing things that are not true. No matter who told them to us, no matter what their intention was. Our parents, our teachers, they want to protect us. They want us to grow up right. They want us to be good citizens. And they have really negative ways of trying to make that happen. Some of them, sometimes. Can I stop the voices in my own head that are repeating things that are not true about me? Words like lazy. Words like procrastinator. Words like not smart enough. Too smart for your own good. We all have them. We all have them. Can I forgive myself? Can I give myself a little room to clear those out and make room for something more positive? Short answer is yes. It just takes practice. What else do we forgive ourselves for? Forgive ourselves for not being at peace. I have this beautiful philosophy. I have an awesome community. I know literally hundreds of spiritual practitioners and ministers that teach this stuff. And I'm not always at peace. What's wrong with me? That doesn't compute. That's not the way the heart and mind work. I have to build the bridge between the emotion of the heart, the knowing of the spirit, and the way my brain functions in the world, because the ego drives that bus, right? The moment Eckhart Tolle says that I can completely accept my non-peace becomes transmuted into peace. And that's one of the keys. He says, anything you accept fully will get you there, will take you into peace. That's the miracle of surrender. Now, words like surrender and acceptance in our culture always sound like giving in, like weakness. Oh, you gave up. You say, well, that's the way it is. Tone of voice is everything. This is where we are. Let's move forward from here. That is a very different feeling than, this is where we are, oh my God, what are we going to do? Right? So in order for me to give myself room to be creative, to find a way forward, to take the next step, to ask for help, to reach out to my friends, in order to do that, I have to know where I'm starting from and decide that I'm just going to move from here and stop wasting energy on what's not true anymore, or who I am not anymore, or who you aren't anymore. We're going to go from here. Play the ball where it's landed, right? This is where we find ourselves. What are we going to do? We can do something. We can be something. We can suspend the negative judgment about what shouldn't have happened. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You all know better. You've all had therapy. You know that's not where it gets you anywhere. Instead, it's, okay, what next? What else in your own head would you like to let go of, to forgive, to stop blaming yourself for? Anybody? Brave? Yeah.
My lack of not being able to stop eating sugar.
Not okay. Being unable to stop eating sugar. How many of you would say that could be an issue? Pretty much every hand in the room. Just let me know you're not alone. Right? What else?
Not being able to say no.
Ah, that's actually next week's talk. That's good. Revolutionary no's. Not being able to say no. Yeah?
Forgiving, like as you said, my younger self for some of the,
Stupid things.
stupid things, doing the best, doing the best I could with what I had,
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And the thing is, if you were talking to your best friend about some of the things that we personally carry, or a child going through some of the things that you went through when you were a kid, you'd have a whole different speech made up.
You'd be talking about, like I said, see, you're not alone. We all have a struggle somewhere, a pattern we want to break, something we want to shift or change. It's okay to name that. What's not okay is to name yourself inadequate for not doing it. What's not okay is to say you're not enough because you don't live up to whatever that ideal is in your head. I guarantee you didn't put there, somebody else did. Maybe even this center. You should be more peaceful. Okay, on a good day I am. On a bad day I'm not. Now what? The thing is, wherever we find ourselves, that's what we play. That's where we move forward from. And that changes day to day, moment by moment, relationship by relationship, circumstance by circumstance, news headline by headline. Our job is to stay anchored in the spiritual truth that we know, that we are children of the Most High. And to believe anything else is to believe something that is not true. So whenever that voice pops up that says we are less than, that we're not doing enough, that we don't act the right way or believe the right thing or vote the way everybody should vote, the minute we do that to ourselves, it's really easy to do the same thing out there in the world. And if we set our intention to be more forgiving, to be more giving for ourselves, it is so much easier to be present to the world, to bring that into a situation rather than contributing to the negativity. And that's what takes us to solution. That's what carries us forward. That's what raises everybody up. Because Jan Van Zandt, after forgiving yourself for believing the things you were told, forgive the people who told you. Forgive them not for what they said or did. This is not a free pass to cause harm to people. Forgive them because they didn't know any better. When we know better, we do better. And then, if you can forgive yourself, you can take it to the world. You won't, our main quote this week is from Duncan Trussell. I'm sorry, I don't know who he is, but I like what he said. If you can forgive yourself, you will no longer see the reflection of your own internal judgment in the faces of the people around you. And if you can do that, then suddenly you'll be in a whole different universe. Because the universe we all exist in is one where we're all so terrified of the judgment of our peers. In that aspect of life, we've never gotten past middle school. None of us. And the people who don't learn how to cope with that part of the personality continue to act like middle schoolers. You could not pay me enough to repeat 7th grade. And this is from a person who loved school, got straight A's, would rather be at school than anywhere else. You could not pay me to go back to 7th grade. Because that's what happens. There's bullying, there's teasing, there's I'm better than you because I think you're stupid, and there's every variation on that theme, and most kids are not equipped to move through that with any degree of self-esteem intact. And that brings me to anger. There's a lot of things to be legitimately angry about. And my Evan Hodkins School of Alchemy quote is, anger is an unconscious means of restoring self-esteem after an emotional injury. Our victimhood confirms for us how deeply right we are. We get angry when we are traumatized or hurt or invalidated as a way of telling ourselves that we're still here and it matters and we're right. In and of itself, that is not a bad thing. But he goes on to say, as only he can, our anger, and I will define this sentence when I finish reading it, our anger is quickly ossified into justifiable rectitude. So I looked all that up. Ossified is to turn into bone. We become rigid with justifiable rectitude. We are righteously right. We are rigidly, righteously right. And when we are that way, who have we turned into? The person who is bullying us. There is no room for love, compassion, kindness, a way forward, healing. No, we're right, damn it. From that point on, we're drinking our own toxicity. Our huffiness will marinate us in the pathetic brine of spiritual grouchiness. I am every other day in a little bit of spiritual grouchiness. Here's a word of caution. Don't forgive prematurely. Your anger is a signal that a given relationship, a given set of circumstances, wants to go to a higher level of functionality. In other words, there's a part of you that says, this is not right, something better is possible. That's legit. Anger will whisper in your ear what that might look like. If we are willing to understand that our anger, our fear, our trepidation, our unwillingness to engage really is just a signpost for what is calling us to wholeness, calling us to heal, calling us to be the light that we are at the same time as how pissed off we are. If we can tap into the part of us that knows and understands the greater picture, then our anger, our trauma, our resentment, our grudge, our fear, our hatred can be redirected into a place of action, beginning with self-care. If you are feeling traumatized, if you are feeling put upon, if you are feeling bombarded, anger, fear, resentment, exhaustion, they're all raising their hands saying, you need to take care of yourself. Right? And we have talked about this a couple times. What does it mean to take care of yourself in a difficult world, in a difficult relationship, in a difficult time in your life? It means to take a step back. Do what you can right where you are. Talk to the people who love you. Write something. Read something that lifts you up, that inspires you. Go play with kids. If you don't have any kids, go to the park and watch kids play. Take your dog out without your phone. Just walk the dog. We have ways of taking care of ourselves. And if we will but shift our focus momentarily, our beingness will automatically work on all this stuff that's bubbling over here, and something useful will rise to the surface, and we can move forward from right where we are. So self-care is probably the first step. Here's another idea. You all know Pastor Nadia Boltz-Weber. She's the one of the tattoos and the long-time sobriety that speaks. She's a Lutheran pastor, speaks in prisons, and I love her. She's about as irreverent as you can get, and she is right on principle. And she says, I was taught that evil is fought with justice and might. The way we combat evil is by making sure that people get what they have coming to them, an eye for an eye. But inevitably, when I can't harm the people who harmed me, I just end up harming the people who love me. Retaliation or holding on to anger does not combat evil. What if forgiveness, rather than being a weakness, a weak way of saying it's okay, is actually a way of wielding bolt cutters and snapping the chain that links us? The thing about what happens to us that we carry because it was traumatic, because it's difficult, is that it continues to hurt us until we are able to see and understand it differently. If all we do is tell the same story in our heads over and over and over again, our bodies relive it over and over and over again. There is a place and a time to talk about what's happened, or to have someone help you get clarity on what you felt, what you experienced, to give you validation. But we don't live there healthily. We say it to express it, not repress it, right? We know if we hold stuff in, it's bad for us, right? You can't go on here any WebMD anything that says if you hold on to your tension and your stress, it's going to show up in your life as heart issues or cholesterol problems or headaches or Epstein-Barr. They don't know. But the problem is if we repress things, we hold them in, our body reflects them anyway. So we want to express it, push it out, not indiscriminately. That's what those people do that we don't like. They just bleh all over the place. What we want to do is we want to do it in a form of self-care, in a form of taking action, redirect that energy, speak it to someone who can listen so we can move on from here. So we can look back and understand it in a greater framework and know what we learned and what we're going to do differently now. Any of the parents in the room swear you were going to raise your kids differently than your parents raised you? Did you? At least sometimes? Yeah. And you know what? They do the same to you, right? We should all pay for our kids' therapy. It's our duty, right? But the truth is, when we understand differently, we act differently. And that's our job, is to keep growing, to keep becoming. Pastor Nadia goes on to say, we forgive not to make the perpetrator feel better. It's because the longer we stay attached to the harm, the more we absorb it and risk becoming like our enemy, quote unquote. Forgiveness actually says, I will never allow this to infect my heart. Because the truth is, when we continue to react from past trauma, we are responding inappropriately to what's happening here and now, when we could be understanding what happened and how we want to live differently, how we understand what was going on in their lives at that time, and we're not them. And the truth is, we're not who we were then either. We're not. So that self-talk about how we're not, fill in the blank, enoughness, can be shifted to how we're not that person anymore. I am this person here and now. I have these choices. I have this power of my own heart, of my own knowing, of my own understanding. This is where I live from. This is how I choose to respond. This is who I know myself to be. And anything out there is not welcome to change who I am without my permission. I had those people in my life when I was younger that would tell me how I felt. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. This isn't bothering you, is it? Yes, it is. No, I think it'll be okay. I think you're fine. What do you know about how I am? Right? We don't do that anymore. We know better, right? We know better. And the last how that I have, how to shift this energy, is to consider replacing the word forgive with release. Instead of asking yourself how you forgive someone, ask yourself, how can I release this? You're not giving them a pass on bad behavior. You're not saying a situation in the world is okay. What you're doing is releasing the hold they or that situation has on your life. Change the question to, how do I release them? And then consider yourself, who you are, how you feel, where you are in your life, what's valuable to you, what's important to you. Know that you have the answers within, because you do. This lets us move even beyond forgiveness to understanding, which is the whole point. Because again, if we're holding on to the resentment, the judging, the fear, the anger, if we're holding on to all of that, we don't have any room for compassion and kindness. If we're looking for revenge, we're not going to reach out a helping hand. And not just with the person who hurt us, with anybody. Because we're going to suspect them of being the same way. We're going to decide we don't trust anybody. Not a good way to live. Not even a necessary way to live. So we reach understanding. And Richard Rohr said it this way: we're not all weeds, but we're not all wheat either. We have to learn even now to accept and forgive this mixed bag of reality in ourselves and everybody else. Which made me think of the story I told a month or two ago about Reverend Jeffrey from Riverside, CSL, at the hardware store in front of a guy wearing a MAGA hat. And if you know Reverend Jeffrey, he and his husband are really delightful people. They're big men. They're kind of obvious. And here's this guy behind him. And it's like, oh boy, where's this going? The guy behind him saw what he was buying, bird feeder or something. They started talking about birds. Next thing you know, they're talking about how much they love their dogs. And then they're talking about what it's like to plant flowers in the garden. And it was a perfectly lovely conversation. We're not all weeds and we're not all wheat. All of us are complex. All of us have layers and layers and layers. Let's be the ones that make room. Let's be the ones that know how to listen. Let's be the ones that don't get defensive the minute somebody else gets loud. Right? We don't have to do that. We can kind of wait it out. You know? Somebody yells at you. Oh, they must be having a bad day. As opposed to, what did I do? We want to move through the world as a light. We want to move in the world and as love. We want to show up as our best selves. And the world is not going to just throw open all the doors immediately in front of us. But we can find beauty wherever we are, and we can express peace wherever we go, and we can use the words that lift and sustain us with our friends who need to be lifted up. We can do that as long as we are consciously aware that the path of peace is what we are walking. No matter where we come from, no matter who we are at this point, we are still walking a path of peace when we are intentional, when we are conscious, when we choose. Christian author Rob Bell said it this way: I'm convinced being generous is a better way of life. I'm convinced forgiving people and not carrying around bitterness is a better way to live. I'm convinced having compassion is a better way to live. I'm convinced pursuing peace in every situation is a far better way to live. I'm convinced listening to the wisdom of others is a better way to live. I'm convinced being honest with people is a better way to live. The forgiveness we give ourselves and others is truly revolutionary love. Namaste. Let's take a moment and align ourselves with that love within. Breathing in the energy of spirit, which is all loving, which is intelligent and wise and joyful. This energy of life that fills and animates us and all life is love by any name. And when I know that this is the life that I live, I know too that it is the life of everyone and everything. That this love cannot be denied or escaped from. It is truly all that we are surrounded by, all that we are expressing. And where that love does not come through clearly as support, as nourishment, as kindness, I speak my word for a clearing of the path. That whatever obstruction of thought or emotion is in the way of expressing peace is simply fading away. As I turn my attention to that which is good, to that which is beautiful, to the relationships that are healthy, to the landscape that is gorgeous, to the people who do love me, I allow that to fill my very essence, all of my awareness. And when I live in that spiritual place of acceptance and love and beauty, I am that in the world. I speak a word of courage for those fearful moments when I'd rather hide. I speak a word of courage when there is something to be said and it is mine to say. So that the truth of me, the truth of life, is spoken out loud by me, as me, wherever I am. And as I do that, I feel my heart open enough to hear the words of truth from another. I bless this collaboration, this community of communication, this ability to live with and for each other. For it is truly the oneness that Spirit is showing up as me, as you. And for this I am grateful. This gratitude is for the healing and wholeness revealed through every connection, every bridge, every argument not had, every argument moved through to resolution. For even when the path of peace is not feeling peaceful, the way forward is made clear. And there is joy in every step, and beauty along the way, and friends to make it work. I release my word into universal consciousness, for I know that the law acts as I believe. And I believe it to be good, and very good, and becoming ever more good. And so it is. So I invite you to join me in saying our affirmation. Please repeat after me. I consciously cultivate a heart. Is that this week's? I'm in the right one? See? Another thing to forgive myself for. Let's try that again. I consciously cultivate a heart that is open to giving and receiving. The flow of life through me is powerful. That is last week's affirmation, accidentally repeated in this week's bulletin. Let's do this week's affirmation. I move beyond forgiveness to understanding, giving me compassion and kindness for all. And so it is. All right, that's better. All right, let's invite Rick Dale back up for a little rock and roll, or whatever you've got for us. Tuck and roll. Drop and roll. No, that's not good.
Well, after Tracy's message, I don't need to do this song either. But I will. It's a song I wrote a few years ago and only played one time, so this is the second time.
Okay, that couldn't have been more perfect. Thank you so much. The mysterious ways, yes. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so let's invite our ushers to come forward, please. Now that we've done all this inner clearing, we are ready to give and to receive. So know that as you are giving this morning, we are also receiving as a community, and that supports our work, it supports our teaching, it supports our staff, and it supports you, because without this place, this community, some of us would be poorer for it. So know that what you give is spreading the love that you are everywhere, starting right here and now. So say with me, please, our prosperity affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. A lot of things happening this week. We start with thank you to Betty for our beautiful flowers today. I think August flowers are all booked up, but there are still a couple weeks in September that if you'd like to donate, you tell us if you want to, dedicate them to someone or something, or just we will enjoy them Sunday morning and then you take them home with you when you go. So we welcome those. Those are beautiful. Wednesday night meditations, 6:30 online, as we do every week with practitioner Nisa. The link is on our website. It's also in our e-blast if you would like to join us for that. Today at 2:45 is the second half of the Make a Banner project, which are these banners that you see all around. This is in conjunction with Unity. The Unity Center puts the banners up. They meet in this room at 1:30, 12:30? 12:30 after our service. And then after that, there's the second half of the workshop. So if you came last week, come this week too. We are doing a food drive specifically, again with Unity, specifically for families that have been impacted by the ICE raids. So we're collecting food, non-perishable items. We're also collecting school supplies. So next time you're at Target or Staples, who still has their 25-cent sale going on, grab a bunch of extra school stuff or backpack, and we'll throw it in the bin and make sure that it gets to someone who can actually use it and welcomes the help. A little heads up that classes will be starting soon. The next class that Reverend Mary is teaching is Essential Ernest Holmes. If you've had it already, you don't need to take it, because I'm going to start teaching a class also a little bit later, which is the Advanced Consciousness Studies, which is actually the first year of practitioner studies, but open to those of you that have had some of our classes before. So we'll have more information on that coming out in this next week or so, and there will be sign-up sheets available for that.
If there are people who are interested in the foundation class, they can let me know. We'll put one together if there's enough people.
Okay, so if you haven't had any kind of foundation class, which would be this thing they call you, or
Spiritual principles.
spiritual principles and practices, foundations,
or beyond limits.
Beyond limits. If you've had any of those, you're covered. If you have not, if you're new to philosophy, if you've heard about it on Sundays but never been in a class, those are the classes you want to take first. Talk to Reverend Mary after service. If you get an interest list going, we have 3, 4, 5 people, we'll start a class.
Because it is always worth your while. And if you have not had a class and you've been coming here for a long time, and you are a member, and I'm not looking at anyone in particular, you really want to take the class. It's really, really good for you. Not that I'm saying you would really like it, and Shelley just outed you, so what can I do? I know.
Maybe she could become a member while she's at it.
Oh, there's an idea. Ooh, so if you feel like this is your spiritual home, you could say the sacred yes. We don't like make you do anything because of it. We just are happy to welcome you officially to the family. All right, we have.
Do we have membership membership cards here?
We
We
do.
do, there are membership cards on the back table.
There are two sides to that membership card.
Make sure you let us know how to contact you, that's one side.
And your signature and date on the other. And then when
when
we have our annual meeting,
we'll have you come up front and embarrass you. With love, of course, with love. All right. Let's see, I think, what else do we have? Just a reminder, we've gone from like 3 to 5 people who consistently like and comment on our posts on Facebook. Feel free to become the 6th person, because the more we click, the more we share. You see one of those pretty little memes up there that you like, you could share it to your own page, and that all builds our exposure. So the more you are active, the more we show up in the world. And you know, we're all here to show up in the world, so there's an easy thing you can do. You don't even have to explain religious science to anybody. Isn't that nice? All right, anything else? Yes, Susie?
I think the banner workshop is at 2:45 today.
Yes, what did I say? I didn't.
Right after their.
After their service, 2:45, yes. Also, I wanted to point out, we got another supply of red cards. These are the Know Your Rights cards for people that are in danger of being arrested or detained by immigration. The cards we have are English on one side, Spanish on the other, but they come in all different languages. If you have community friends that might benefit from a little bit of support in their wallet, we can order other kinds of cards as well. They're on the back table, and feel free to take several and hand them out if you have people that you know that might benefit. All right, I think we're good. We went a little long today, but you know, I have a lot to say. What can I tell you? Let's stand up and move out and sing.